Hey guys, this is Mastercontrol. Today I'm going to be showing off some Zurgo games. I never really had a great game with him, so I'll just show you a bunch of quick ones. Right now I'm playing Shadow 613. So right now I have a pretty serviceable hand. It's not exactly quick, but I keep it. I draw into Borrow Signet, so I play that straight away. He's playing Phoenix. I'm not too afraid of Phoenix, especially with Zurgo. And I know his build. He's playing Mill, and that's something else I'm not too afraid of in EDH, especially with how fast Zurgo is. So, second turn, Elspeth. Never hurts. And then he's missing his land drops here, so this is already a wash, but I hadn't played Zurgo in a long time, so I wanted to see how it played out. And I get a sword out. More profit. Usually when I go for a sword, it's a Sword of Fire and Ice. Zurgo, this is a pretty fast deck. I have a lot of mana rocks to get Zurgo out faster and some of the other heavier casting things in the deck. So usually I find that my hand is empty pretty early on in the game, and drawing an additional card every turn never hurts. Sometimes I'll go for Feast and Famine, but really only if I need the protection. And he calls the game. We'll go to the next one. So in this one, once again, I have a good hand. And I draw into Sword of Fire and Ice. Can't get much better than that. He puts down Lightning Greaves. Once again, I'm not too afraid. Throw down Mindstone. Next turn was my plan to get out Nahiri, just to start generating some board state here, starting investing in board state. Now this was, I thought about this for a little while here, because he has a creature in his deck called Eater of the Dead, which could basically mill my entire deck with Phoenix on the board and Lightning Greaves out. But I took a calculated risk and just put down Nahiri. I probably would have saved a Swords to Plowshare if I was playing any other deck, but it paid off. He just played Umbra Mantle. I drew Mishra's Workshop from the top, put sword on, attacked. Put down Weathered Wafer. He traumatizes me. I don't care too much. Once again, I mean, it's Zurgo. He's pretty fast. So I figure before he can really get a combo going, I'd be able to just slam him down. So I just Vandal Blast away his board. Swing again. Draw a card. Tunnel Vision. This is sort of funny. I talked to him later about why he used Tunnel Vision, and he was under the impression that the list that showed up when he cast Tunnel Vision was the list of every card in my deck, when in reality it's every card that exists in Magic. So he just clicked on something random in hopes that he would mill some cards. Of course, it didn't happen that way. So he spent 6 mana to just sort of see what I had in the rest of my library. So I drew Orm's Chant, which is basically silence. I attack him. I silence him, and then with Nahiri going to ultimate next turn, he just concedes. Oh, no, sorry, he doesn't. I slam in for damage. That's that game. So 2 games that just show off the efficiency of Zurgo. I didn't have to use it to its full potential, like Mind Twist, Inquisition of Kozilek, this thing, Swords of Plowshare. I have a lot of answers that I didn't have to give. So yeah. So there's another game I had. This one I'm playing versus Animar. Animar is a pretty tough matchup for Zurgo, just because he just has to sit out there and he's an efficient blocker for 3 mana. So I keep a pretty rough hand actually. I was afraid to send it back because I didn't want to go back for less mana. I also have to rest in my opening hand, and I'm going first, so I figured I'd draw a card, which happened to be a land, but I could nail a Mana Crypt or Soul Ring from his hand. So I duress him, and I get Brainstorm out of his hand. Yeah. He does first turn nothing. I draw Cancel's Judgment. I'm pretty happy to see that because it doesn't actually target anything. So I can just vote Animar away. Put Strip Mine out and I nail his land. Now I skipped over his hand there, but he had a Strip Mine as well. So I was sort of hoping he would use it because that would give me basically two turns of free draws, and he doesn't know that I just have a handful of mana. So that doesn't hurt me in any way. And it gives me, once again, 2 draws to actually draw something meaningful. So sure enough, I draw Imperial Seal rather off the top. And I have Mishra's Workshop in my hand. So here I Imperial Sealed for a Coercive Portal. Now this thing is 4 mana, and it basically acts as a Phyrexian Arena. It is insane. It's just bananas. So in his turn he puts down a land, and because I have Mishra's Workshop, I can draw a Portal down right now. Although it's turn 4 in the game, because we've just been destroying each other's lands, it's almost like turn 2, and getting a turn 2 Coercive Portal is crazy. Pretty sure this replay bugged. Well, on to the next game then. So, game 2 versus Animar. So once again, I have a pretty serviceable hand. I'm going second this time, so I'm happy to see Weathered Wayfarer here. Puts down a land, says go. I don't have a play this turn, so I just activate Weathered Wayfarer and go for Ancient Tomb. The plan is just to get Elspeth out early and Karn out a little earlier. Puts down Animar. With a Wayfarer, go for a land. I countered Thassa. I noticed that he didn't put a land down before he played a spell. So I had a feeling that he might be short on mana, and I didn't want him to scry away non-lands to get a land. So I decided to counter Thassa. Animar gets bigger, and he elects not to attack, which I thought was a little bizarre. Anyways, I draw Mox Diamond off the top, which gives me a chance to play Elspeth 1 turn earlier. I know that Animar could just go through Elspeth, but it also gives him something to attack. I find that when you put down Planeswalkers, your opponent switches what their original game plan is going to be, and just goes for the Planeswalkers. They're sort of like life gain on a stick. My main reason for putting down the Planeswalker as well is for him to tap Animar sideways and let me get Zurgo into attack every time, because Zurgo only needs to hit 3 times before you win, and if he doesn't leave Animar up as blocker, then I can get through. Obviously, if he doesn't attack Elspeth, I can just generate tokens with Elspeth no problem. So it's a win-win. So he takes Flame Tonkabu and correctly hits Weather Wayfarer. I wouldn't have gotten to activate it anyway, but what's he going to do? Kill a token? So here, I just play Karn, take out his Animar. That way, Flame Tonkabu can't get through, and I can still generate tokens with Elspeth. And by the time Animar gets out, and is actually important to the game, I'll have plus Karn ready to minus it again on Animar. He plays Nylia, something that I don't think is great for an Animar build. I double block, this creature's dead. Bring up Zurgo. Attack with everything. Place Phyrexian Revoker. Now, the correct play would have been to kill Phyrexian Revoker with Dreadbore and plus his hand with Karn. I felt sort of bad for the guy, so I just play Sun Titan rather, ramp a little bit, and attack again. He takes the hit. He sees the writing on the wall and he concedes. So this is a game I had against Tim Jack CW. He's using Marquesa. I quite like Marquesa, and I figured it might be a little bit of a challenge just because I would have to get through creatures that just come back, and I would never be able to punch through with Zurgo. I'm keeping, once again, a fantastic hand, but first turn here, I tutored for the wrong land. So I couldn't use my first turn Thoughtseize. That was a big mistake, and I was figured he was going to punish me pretty hard for that. What makes it even worse is I don't have another fetch land in my hand, so I can't look for another black source. But he just looks for a land, and I draw a fetch land off the top. What would have been even better is if I had Thoughtseized, I could have followed it up with him to 2-arc next turn. So I was even more down on myself this game. So I Thoughtseize him, and I see a pretty heavy hand here. Dreamstone Hedron, which I don't necessarily know if it goes in the Marquesa build. Grave Titan and Igachur, I can definitely see the appeal. They're a little heavy. Then Jace, so I take down Jace. He has 4 mana here. So I figure I can do some damage before he gets anything really important out. So I take out Jace. I didn't have any artifacts in my hand, so the Igachur didn't really hurt me just yet. And sure enough, I draw Mana Crypt off the top. So I go land, Mana Crypt, and once again, I know he has 2 lands, at least 2 more lands in his hand. Dreamstone Hedron and Igachur and Grave Titan. So I put out Zurgo right away, knowing that he's not going to get any of his fatties out for a couple of turns here. So I figured I could just slide under the his curve and hit him 3 times. So that's 1. He taps, puts down Igachur to kill my Mana Crypt. Probably the best play. I Mind Twist him for 2 to get some of his land out of his hands. He had duplicate, so he obviously drew into that. Once again, I still would have preferred land just to keep him off his mana so I could hit 3 times. So that's 2 with Zurgo. He plays Marquesa. And because of one of Zurgo's ability, where he's indestructible on my turn, this top deck Blood Crypt lets me play Wrath of God, which is a parallel effect that works to my advantage. And he concedes. So this is a game I had against Animar again. So as you can see, a pretty good hand. A little bit land heavy. I think I only run about 34 lands in this deck, and I run a couple of mana rocks. Draw Sword and Feast and Famine from the top. He goes and drops City of Brass. Taps it to tuck away Ancestral Vision. Draw Vandal Blast. Vandal Blast isn't a great draw here. Usually Animar decks don't run too many artifact ramp. They usually rely a lot on creature ramp just to fuel out Animar, and they're good to drop after Animar's out because not only does it color fix for a lot of the creatures they're going to be dropping, but it pluses Animar. So I just drop another land here. I don't have a play, so I just say go. He drops something that just sacks for mana. So here I put out a sword. Now I put out Sword and Feast and Famine. I wanted to. Oh, sorry, I put out Sword, Fire, and Ice. I wanted to keep Feast and Famine as my main sword this game because I had a pretty good hand, and I wanted to get through Animar. Fire and Ice gets through Animar as well, and it also hits Animar. But I was hoping that he would kill Fire and Ice. Now usually Animar decks, when they get to 3 mana, they put out Animar immediately because then every creature they drop after that just adds value to Animar. So if he had Reclamation Sage in his hand, he would probably still wait an extra turn to play it. Usually Animar decks don't run too many non-creature artifact destruction either. So I wasn't too worried about Sword and Feast and Famine just yet, or Fire and Ice rather. So he goes for land. Sure enough, turn 4, or turn 3 rather, he puts out Bloodbraid Elf. I was a little bit surprised there that he didn't put out Animar, but I can see the appeal of Bloodbraid Elf. And he hits Trigon Predator, which is probably the best creature he could have gotten with my board state. It's a little better than Reclamation Sage because it can keep on hitting. It's a little worse in that it actually has to hit. So I draw a Signet, I drop it, and then I vindicate his bird. He drops Bloodbraid Elf, attacks. And then here I probably top deck the best card I can think of top decking. Silence. Now, if you remember, he put away Ancestral Vision on turn 1. So I drop a land. I put Zurgo out. Attack. Of course, I have to attack with Zurgo because it forces me to. He blocks directly with Animar. And then on his turn, once the counter goes off Ancestral Vision, I silence him. So not only can he not play Ancestral Vision, but it gives me a chance on my next turn to attack Sword and Feast and Famine, attack, kill Animar with Sword's ability, and win the game, I guess. I keep on saying Feast and Famine. It's Fire and Ice. I don't know why I keep messing it up. Anyways, he correctly concedes. That was a fun game. Okay, so this is the last match I have to show with Zurgo. I'm facing the Bug Sidisi, and I go first. I have a pretty good hand. I like to see Duress. So I see his hand. He has Cultivate, Coat of Arms, and Cellar Door. Probably have never seen Cellar Door before. It's 2 mana, it costs 3, tap it, and then target player puts the bottom card of their library into their graveyard. If it's a creature, the activator of Cellar Door gets a 2/2 zombie. So in most decks, if you were to run 25 creatures, this would hit 25% of the time. So it may cost up to 12 mana to get a creature. I mean, some decks don't even run any creatures, so it's very high cost for something that doesn't give you very much. He has Coat of Arms and Cultivate, so I take away the Cultivate. I say that he has Liliana's Reaver, and I have a white counter in my hand, so I plan on keeping mana up for that. He also doesn't have any green mana, which I'm sort of happy to see. So I take Cultivate out of his hand. Puts down a land, he scries one. I don't have a play here, so I just put my land in tapped. He plays Cellar Door. I elect not to counter this because I want him to use the mana to get a 2/2 zombie. Once again, no play. He Cellar Doors me and gets land tax. So I top deck Elspeth, put it out, +1. Now, I expected him to play Liliana's Reaver here. He doesn't. I was going to use Chainer's Edict on it. Instead he plays a General, which is not a bad play. So I play Zurgo here. The reason I play Zurgo is because I want to put some pressure on him, and I figure he's going to not block me and save his creatures to attack Liliana. As I said before earlier in this video, I find that when you put a Planeswalker down, your opponents change their strategy to try to get rid of your Planeswalker. So in effect, it acts as life gain on a stick. And with Zurgo, you only have to hit 3 times. So he really has to manage his threats here. So I put out Zurgo to apply some pressure. I attack, and sure enough, he doesn't block. Also, I sort of want him to attack Elspeth because I can just put out my next Elspeth and then have him waste guys on that too. So I double block this zombie so I can use Chainer's Edict next turn. He used Cellar Door instead of playing Liliana's Reaver, which I don't really understand. Yeah. So I give Zurgo +3/+3 in flying, and I use Chainer's Edict on his General. I attack, and I figure if he just plays Liliana's Reaver here, then it's over. He really has to have something to take out Zurgo at this point, or have a flying blocker. He puts out Liliana's Reaver, and he concedes. Okay, one more game. So this is game 2 in our match. So I have a serviceable hand. It's not explosive, but like my Zurgo build, it's pretty low mana and very efficient. He goes first. He scries. Put down a land. I don't have a play. Just say go. Drop my Signet. I'm getting ready to put down Liliana next turn. Start putting on some pressure. He does Chromatic Lantern, so that's nice because when I play Liliana, I don't have to -2 her right away. So I get her out, a +1er. I take away Wasteland. I took my Wasteland away just because I play this guy quite often, and I'm tired of killing his lands. Yeah. He goes. Cultivates, which I don't know if that was the right play. I don't know what's in his hand at this point, but I probably would have played the General and started attacking Liliana. Because at this point, although we got another land on the board and he has fuel to discard to Liliana, she's still getting up there. And now I have even more pressure on him with Zurgo. So I attack. I used Liliana's trigger before. I put away Lightning Greaves. Lightning Greaves is it's good in most builds. In this one, it's not as good just because my main attacker already has haste. So it provides Shroud, which is sort of nice because it makes Zurgo even more difficult to deal with. Yeah. Plays a General. He doesn't hit a zombie. Then he ramps some more. So here, I just put on the sword, equip, attack, and he discards a card. So here I I look at his hand, and he has Biden to Thassa, which doesn't scare me at this point because he would need to attack. You need to play it, attack, and then still have enough mana to draw whatever he used to affect and actually get Sword and Feast and Famine off the battlefield. And he also has a blue-black creature for 6 mana. So I'm not too afraid of that either. I use Elspeth. I get each player to discard a card. So he takes Biden, so now I know exactly what's in his hand. That's 6 creature, so right now he has to top deck something to kill either Sword and Feast and Famine or Zurgo. But he doesn't. He just plays the creature. He attacks. I don't bother blocking because I guess I'm not afraid. Attack, and they win the game. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the series. Changes the way